my dear friend at the time, who was the sergeant of arms for our chapter, and, I always say without a pulley, there wouldn't have been a road, you know what I mean? It's not a one-man show, as much as like Lou said, you could get a one-man target,
Right.
but you don't have a one-man show
Right.
when you're doing this. You're not, Chuck Norris, as we like to say,
Yeah.
So I respected a lot of guys in the club, a guy that you interviewed, George Christie, right? George was in the club many, many years before I was around, right? And he had, a lot of respect out here, not only on the West Coast, but through a Sonny Barger, you know what I mean? Guys like that were older and paved the way, as they say, I might have been the target in Chicago and the guy that people respected and feared, but there was many guys like that, right? I didn't invent that, right? I wasn't the guy that could take any credit for that. I was groomed. I watched. As you know me now for some time, I pay attention to things, a lot of things, talking and actions and stuff like that. So multiple guys that I respected in the club that showed me a lot of things, in life and had my back 100%. It wasn't the Road Mel show. It was we were all together and doing this, and we had that team and so multiple guys that I looked up to that, I asked for advice for, what was going on. And then I had guys telling me, hey, man, you got to reel it in a little bit. We know you guys are in the middle of the hornet's nest, but man, you're going to end up in the penitentiary for a long time. Well, what do you do? How do you...
Yeah, what's it like to hear that? I mean,
Yeah, I remember hearing that. I remember being on a run, a big run, and a couple of these older Hells Angels were looking at me and saying, hey, man, we get it. We get that we started a turmoil in Chicago and you guys are there living it, right? It's easy for somebody to come in from a different chapter and hang out for a day, 4 or 5 days, but they go home. We don't.
Yeah.
So, people were like, how come you didn't bring 50 guys in and just run around and get well, because they're going to leave and we're still here.
Yeah.
We gotta try to, do this and slip through the cracks and do whatever we can do, right? And like I said, the Outlaws in the 90s had a real live crew, John. You know what I mean? We weren't just rolling in on them guys and they were going, they were pulling out and throwing lead at us when they needed to and doing what they needed to do, right? So, and then hearing like, you got to take it easy a little bit. How do you find that balance? You can't, we're out at strip clubs trying to have a little fun and be seen and kind of controlling the territory we're in. And our pagers are going off, hey, 911, a couple of the other guys here, they just jumped the guy here and we got to get the girls off our lap and we're gone at the drop of a hat. That's the way that we had to live that life. And if you weren't ready, then, we've had guys that left the club during that war. They were like, you know what? It's just a little too much.
How about guys joining? I mean, like, who's joining up in that, and how does that, like, how do you judge? Like, what are you looking for and so on?
Yeah, not many.
Yeah.
In the 12, 13 years I was in the club, I sponsored one dude, and I grew up with him in the neighborhood in the suburbs of Chicago. Our families grew up around each other, and I sponsored him, and he came in through that. Right, but we didn't have dudes beating our door down going, hey, we want to join.
Yeah.
We see the news.
Yeah.
We see what's going on. Hey, so it definitely takes a different cat to come in and be like that. A couple dudes did come in and prospect and get their patch through that war, but not at all. Different now on the outlaw side because they controlled the city. They were the big dogs in the city the whole time. And now the Hells Angel name comes in, and now you got two of the powerhouses in the same blocks, right? So they had other support clubs that were loyal to them. So when I tell you that at the height of this, we had 13 guys in Chicago. They could put 100 guys together from Chicago, Indiana, because we were where we lived, they were on the border of Gary, Indiana, Joliet, which is the south of the city, 2 chapters in Chicago, and Wisconsin's an hour and a half away, where they got 30 guys just in Wisconsin. They could put 100 guys at an event together in 30 minutes.
Wow.
For us to get 100 guys, we got to call West Coast, East Coast, and stuff like that. So we were greatly outnumbered when it came to physical bodies. And we had that to try to overcome that obstacle.
How do you deal with that?
Get them on the sneak, right? We weren't going to bike events where we knew that they were going to have 100 guys show up at a bike run